This is the Living Up Bar Time podcast. Consistently the worst introductions in the game. I stole that one from a terrible pro wrestling podcast that I wonder who listening to this will even get the reference to. I'm your host, Patrique McGovern, Patrique from RYM. I was joined as always by Caleb, OptimalAudio from RYM. And this week we will be talking album anniversaries. It is 2020, the turn of a decade. And that brings with it a bunch of notable album anniversaries from 2000 and 2010, and figure that you should talk about some great albums, some great music, and maybe where we're going with shit. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
Flimsy excuse to talk about some shit that we probably have some opinions about, which is probably the most generic excuse for the topic for any podcast ever.
And that's why we're here, guys. This is what we bring you. Generic excuses to talk about music that we like.
Oh, fuck. I completely blanked on this earlier, but there was something appalling that I heard on a podcast. It was I guess Clear Channel, like, since everybody, and this is relevant to you since you just graduated college. Clear Channel, not Clear Channel, iHeartRadio, which is part of Clear Channel or wherever they are now, was doing something called Commencement, which was a series of commissioned commencement speeches for kids in quarantine,
right,
who graduated by notable speakers such as DJ Khaled and Hillary Clinton.
You imagine? First of all, no kid. I don't know how they were distributing this, but no kid my age turns on the radio. Unless you're just very...
Well, this wasn't a podcast. This was actually a podcast. But they probably put it on the radio, too.
So they probably drop them via, like, Apple Music or something. I don't know. Something like that. I don't know.
I'm going to look up iHeartRadio Commencement now and see what the list of speakers was for this trip, by the way.
It's going to be the thumbnail. I need DJ Khaled to tell me about how to do better in life.
I was wondering about Khaled's speech and if he would plug his son Assad, and if he would mention Lil Blurry.
Right. Which
John
does...
McGraw and more to give speeches in new podcast. Tim McGraw.
Yeah, Tim McGraw. Yeah, because people my age definitely fuck with Tim McGraw.
John Legend, Halsey, Kesha, DJ Khaled, Khalid, Pitbull, and Tim McGraw. Eli Manning, Jimmy Fallon, Katie Couric, Ryan Seacrest.
Well, I mean,
you'd be so cheated if you got Seacrest.
He's had a hand in everything, so you figure Ryan Seacrest.
He's incredibly successful. He probably has really good advice, but he's also, like, who aspires to be Ryan Seacrest?
Ryan Seacrest, I'm gonna guess he has a net worth of like $500 million. What's his net worth? His net worth is upwards of $330 million. So I was off. Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, they were advertising Hillary. Hillary Clinton is definitely a part of this.
Yeah, someone I.
Ugh, why? Coach K.
I wonder if Coach K can make it through 3 or 4 sentences.
Chelsea Handler. Ugh.
This is a deep list of guests for a commencement speech.
Yeah, it's like a series of them. I don't know if it's like something that schools commission and like you get it based on your school, or if like it's just a thing that like.
I feel like it's just a thing that they're doing because I haven't heard it.
All college students, or I don't fucking know. It was horrible, and I was appalled by the fact that DJ Khaled is giving commencement speeches.
Yeah, usually, the person you invite to do a commencement speech is someone with like a background or like a prestige or something, and you have DJ Khaled.
He wants you to listen.
Is he gonna say "you the best" after it's?
You know he is. He's going to end his speech with "you the best."
And he's gonna say, instead of Nas album done, it's gonna be class of 2020 done.
No, he's already moved on from that meme. He can't remember 5 memes back. He doesn't remember he has a restaurant. He doesn't remember any of this shit.
Remember, DJ Khaled blew up in the meme world because it was a Snapchat video way back in the day of him on a jet ski, and he couldn't he was out in the ocean, probably only a couple miles away from the shore, and he couldn't find his way back to shore. I kid you not, this was the actual meme.
No shit.
And
this had like actually funny.
No, it was actually hilarious because he kept putting on his Snapchat story. He kept recording himself not being able to find his way back, and then he eventually did, and that was like the meme that blew DJ Khaled up on Snapchat and made him relevant to people under 25 at the time.
Yeah, it's amazing how DJ Khaled has managed to stay relevant for so long.
And that really ties to a topic. He was relevant a decade ago, and then he wasn't, and then he is now again.
He's going to manage to get paid for a very long time. He's managed to... he just managed to stay around as a thing that people remember. Like, either you remember him from a previous time, or he's still around doing something.
Right.
And you never remember, and you can't remember what he does. That's another thing. It's like he's a joke. It's like, what does DJ Khaled actually do? But he doesn't care. Like, he'll embrace that at this point.
And that's like part of the aura around him is that like he's in on the joke. That's like, and he's always going to be a part of a hit record, like once every 2 years, maybe. You know what I mean? There's always going to be some sort of song that is like big ass posse cut that has DJ Khaled on it.
What is the best Khaled related song? I want to say On One. I'm On One.
I feel like that has to be it, but I know that there were others.
Remix is also really good.
Yeah, because we both listen to a lot of DJ Khaled music for whatever reason.
Probably more than is like acceptable to say in polite company. I probably listen to way more like full DJ Khaled albums than I should.
I have listened to plenty of DJ Khaled albums as well.
I think I've listened to everyone except for the most recent one, actually, in full, which is pretty embarrassing.
Well, I think it would be On One, but I think Nas' album Done and
Holy Key is really good too.
Holy Key slaps, and that Kendrick, Big Sean had his best verse, and Kendrick was like, actually, sorry.
Your best verse is still not quite as good as my average ass verse.
Right, exactly, and that's you almost shed a tear for Big Sean.
Almost. Big Sean's got some mediocre ass shit waiting for us this year to get us through quarantine.
Yeah, I mean, like my friend sent me a tweet last year, and it was one of my favorite ones I always remember, and it was Big Sean's music really hits different when you turn that shit off.
Holy shit. That's great.
It is great.
That's amazing.
It does. It really is.
That is your friend's crowning achievement. I don't care what else he's done in his life.
I'll tell him that.
Yeah, let him know. Let him know.
So before Big Sean was ever a thing, there was hip hop in 2000.
I know. I'm looking at right now. Good transition, by the way. I'm proud of the segue. I'm trying to compare because I was discussing before we were on the air about how the RYM top list might not be representative of all hip hop in 2000. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to find the best selling hip hop albums in 2000, and Google is not being very helpful. So we can start with the RYM top list. And the number one album they have, not one I agree with, Deltron 3030, which is a good album that is not the best hip hop album in 2000 by even at all.
Yeah, I could name 10 rap albums probably that I think are better than that from that year.
It's good. I don't know. It never did anything for me, though. It's just...
I never had a phase with it, but I did think it was cool as shit one time. When I was like...
Fun, like, Time Keeps on Slipping is a great song, but it's like a Gorillaz song. And that's like, it's just kind of like an album that makes me wish I was listening to Dr. Octagon with a good Gorillaz song stuck in the middle of it.
Yeah, I mean, no, that's definitely fair. I think I'm
I
going.
guess it's because Dell never really like. I don't know. I never had a big attachment to Dell as a rapper, but he's good. Like it's a good album. I don't want to shit on this album. That's the thing. But I don't think it deserves to be number one.
No, I definitely don't think it deserves to be number one. I mean, I really, well, I just want to say that the the song called "Virus" is, I mean, not much else to say about that.
I'm not refresh my memory on that.
Well, I just because the title "Virus," I was just making a dumb joke about the current.
Oh, oh, oh! I thought it was going to be. Never mind. I
No,
don't want
yeah. I haven't heard. I'll be honest with you. I have not heard this album in a couple of years, at least. I listened to it way, way back in the day. Probably like 5 years ago at this point. So I'm rusty on it, but I remember liking it. But I agree with you. The albums. There are plenty of albums from 2000 that hit me more than this one. I think part of the reason why is number one for rap is because there's a lot of people on RYM where this kind of like hits the sweet spot of like what they like because it has like it's like abstract. It's got a little bit of like boom bap in there. It's
Yeah,
got like West Coast.
definitely the way a lot of people in RYM prefer rapping to be done,
Right.
and it has that abstract approach. It covers a lot of genres. You've got a lot of cool guests on it. It feels like it invents something, although it doesn't really.
Mhm.
I don't know. I feel like I'm coming off more negative than I am about it because I enjoy the album when I listen to it. I never really have an urge to listen to it. And I don't feel like I really have much to say about it. Why I'm kind of mad that it's number one when I'm trying to have this whole concept for an episode, about anniversaries. Then we have Stankonia, which came out on Halloween, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
I'm just past Deltron because I was about to say fuck Deltron, but I don't really mean that. We did a whole episode to some longtime listeners, very longtime listeners may
Yeah.
remember, on Outcast way back in the day, and I had some unpopular opinions about Stankonia, and I haven't really listened to it since, so the opinions haven't really changed,
Mhm.
but it's still a really good album, and it's a really inventive album. It it broke them out like crazy for sure. The singles on this are forever memorable, and but it's I don't know. There was something about hip hop in the early 2000s that where it didn't want to be hip hop anymore.
Yeah. I mean, no, that's a
I guess you
really
could say there was a plus side to that in the whole Soulquarians movement and neo soul, but where that stuff was expansive, but that was a whole other shit. Like artists who were actually R&B artists in that genre that was cool, but was like hip hop artists were doing it. Like that actually worked for Common with Electric Circus as an album I've come to appreciate with time,
mhm.
but other stuff is not. I forgot Be Real was on this.
Yeah, yeah. Be Real's on this. I mean, it's funny. This was the first Outkast album I heard.
Yeah, this was the
And
first album I heard too, actually.
it's funny because Outkast are, Andre's my favorite rapper. Big Boy's Not Far Behind. Outkast are my favorite group. Um, so I'm definitely partial to all of their albums. But I think this album took a minute to grow on me that wasn't the singles because the singles are pretty immediate. Even if, Bombs Over Baghdad is crazy, but it still has that accessibility to it, I think. But
It does. I mean, Bob's Over Baghdad is one of the best singles ever because what
yeah,
it does is it's super accessible, but it's also really challenging at the same time because it has an insane level of ability and effort behind it. If you want to actually try to follow what he's saying at first, but it's also catchy in the chorus,
right.
and catchy immediately from the first listen,
From the
and it's danceable, but it makes you dance really fast, so you actually have to kind of put in an effort to it. And I don't know, I feel like it works on a lot of levels.
yeah,
But
and it's like
Bombs Over Baghdad is one of the things I absolutely love the best about this album, for sure.
mhm. I think
The
I
Three
mean
Singles is probably my favorite, although So Fresh and So Clean has like that really relaxed bass groove to it that you can't deny, and it's one of the most charismatic songs ever fucking made.
Absolutely, and so I feel like So Fresh and So Clean. I feel like the best parts of this album, if they came out now, would sound crazy. I think that's what makes this album really cool to me is that, Bombs Over a Bad Day came out today, that would be one of the most inventive songs in recent years. Like if Miss Jackson came out today, that would be a smash hit. It's just like Outcasts were always, and it's a cliche thing to say ahead of their time, but I think at their best they were especially ahead of their time. I mean, and the best parts of this album, even though I love the whole thing over time, but I think, and even if you're not like head over heels for the album or you think it's a little overrated, whatever, the best parts of this album could still come out today, and you'd be like, oh, what the fuck is this?
I really think it's a. I just realized that I often misremember Gasoline Dreams as having Big Mike on it, not Cujo Goody. Um, Killer Mike. I'm sorry, Killer Mike. Uh, Also, one of the things you can say about this album is it feels super alive. I feel in terms of the instrumentation,
Mm-hmm.
just it feels everything pops on this album. It's very colorful.
Yeah, there aren't moments like, if there are moments you don't like on the album, it's not because of a lack of effort or energy. It's just like you don't vibe with the song
Right.
in a sense.
Like Toilet Tisha is just I can't. I'm sorry. I
Yeah,
can't.
that song is a lot. It's not one of my favorites, but I kind of appreciate it. The question mark interlude is one of my favorites, but I know some people. I don't know if that's like.
It's cool. I won't skip it. It's not very long.
Humble with Erica. I mean,
That's
like,
great.
yeah,
That
that's
of course.
that's classic. And I also,
Love Below too.
yeah, and I never I always, even though Spaghetti Junction has a or no, Snapping and Trapping has a weird ass beat, I still love that song. Spaghetti Junction's really good. I know that like it's kind of like a Mamacita scenario. Like We Love These Hoes has a really dumb hook, but the rest of the song is really good.
Yeah. We
Yeah,
Love These Hoes. Yeah, I never really. It had a really dumb hook. Basically, I couldn't get past the hook.
really
The
dumb.
second half, I don't play the second half of the album that much. Like I owned it on CD. I did not play the second half of the album that much.
I think the second half of I think it really depends on like how.
Erica song and the question mark interlude actually, as you said, is cool. When I do play the second half of the album, I actually like the question mark interlude better than a lot of the songs.
Yeah,
Like that whole part from the Erica song to Gangsta Shit, which has a weird ass beat that's probably more interesting than most of the other songs on here. Um, on the second half, I should say, not the first half.
Gangsta Shit's really great, and I think Stank Club title track.
It's a good ending.
Yeah, yeah. Because I always will love the fact that they've got a bunch of like their longtime affiliates are still on this album. Like obviously Cujo Goody and Timo and like Big Rube. They didn't just have a track with like all Goody Mob. They kind of like sprinkled them throughout.
There's no like crossover, really no crossover attempts on here. There were songs that crossed over.
Yeah. I wasn't, I was very young when this album came out, but Miss Jackson, even when I was older, everybody knows that song.
Oh yeah, I was actually like I like that song fine, but it's my out of the big three singles from this, is easily my least favorite.
I think it's also my least favorite of the three, but I would still give that like that's still a 5-star song.
Super clever. It's incredibly well made.
Yeah, like I still love the hook. I love Big Boy on that. Like there's not. It's my least favorite of the three. I agree with you, but there's not a part of that song that I still don't love. So I just So Fresh and So Clean, and obviously Bounce Back.
So I guess the question here is, was this influential for the 2000s beyond? We're going to get to 2010. It had Big Crit, which yes, it was influential. Big Crit album.
It's interesting. I'm trying to think of other albums that came after this that played with a lot of different genres. either in the South or otherwise. And I'm
I will
trying.
also say that this album is a lot more successful than albums in the same vein like Wyclef Jean was making around the same time period that were like very polyglot genre type shits.
Yeah.
But like trying to blend hip hop and funk and rock and
You think this album was influential on Cunning Linguists?
Cunning Linguists.
Yeah. I mean, it's
I'm not
different.
familiar enough with them to comment on that.
Okay. All right. Because like the stuff that comes into mind in the 2000s from the South, UGK, not influential on that. Clips, maybe.
Nah, I can't see that. I don't really see
Uh,
that.
I don't see it either.
It's weird. I think of the Clips as a Southern group, even though they clearly are 100%.
Yeah.
But
I don't think it was influential on like Devin the Dude or like 3 6 or anything like that. Or Ti, like nothing like that. I mean, I I don't. It wasn't influential on Wayne either. I don't know. I don't know how much influence this album had. I feel like AT Aliens, Aquemini, and Southern Playalistic were more influential.
yeah, it's kind of its own thing, really.
Yeah, like
It's also more of a George Clinton-y album than the one that had George Clinton on it.
Right, and it's funny. I think AT Aliens and like Aquemini and I mean Southern Playalistic influenced a lot of like like hip hop around that time in the South. But AT Aliens, I still hear that album now. Like I hear Isaiah Rashad all over that. I hear like, I hear Kendrick on AT Aliens and Aquemini.
Right.
Like To Pimp a Butterfly is like Aquemini. I hear that.
Yeah. The way Thundercat does the bass lines on To Pimp a Butterfly are on Wesley's Theory are very much trying to invoke the title track on Aquemini bass line.
Yes.
No, I never actually thought about that, but I never thought about that.
Yeah, no, I always had. We had always said that Kendrick had an Andre feel, but I think Aquemini and Spin Butterfly are the albums where they most sync up in terms of rapping. Because even the way what Andre's doing,
songs directly, like just the bass lines on that, like I think he's trying to make a direct connection there.
Oh yeah, I could see that. I could see For Sale on For Sale sounds like a Love Below era Andre 3000 song.
So I guess you could say maybe Stankonia had a long term influence on Kendrick.
Yeah,
Maybe because Kendrick does have those kind of cross genre influences, or at least he's kind of trying to branch out that way. If you look at like Black Panther soundtrack, the U2 song on Damn, like
all the funk stuff on Spin Butterfly.
Dragons radio song. What I mean, obviously that doesn't sound anything like anything on here. I'm just saying in terms of like bringing, it's kind of a reach, but
I think you're right though that Stankonia is kind of its own thing, and I think Stankonia and Speaker Box Love Below are outliers. In the Outkast catalog, because even though all of their albums are unique in their own way, and none of them sound the same, I feel like the last two, and maybe even Stankonia especially, sound nothing alike the other stuff that they've done.
Right. And even within the album itself, tracks sound nothing like other tracks.
Yeah. No, absolutely. You go from one swing to the other. It's not really cohesive in a sense.
So yeah, it's an album that I come back to certain songs a lot and certain songs not as much. I don't think it's that influential, but I can understand why it hit people hard at the time. And I think that it's cool that it broke them out so much. They couldn't have been able to have the careers that they've had. Well, Big Boy's kind of squandered his, but Andre's got to do whatever the fuck he wanted, pretty much based on the strength of the singles on this album.
It was also
there's no Hey Ya without Bombs Over Baghdad and Miss Jackson, essentially.
Oh, absolutely, and it was also one of the biggest selling albums of the year. There was another hip hop album that outsold it that we're going to talk about, but it was up there with the Limp Bizkits of the world as the biggest, right. Some of the biggest sales that year.
I was considering, and I guess we could do this for a separate episode if you wanted, because I was looking at the 2000s list overall, and there are plenty of rock albums I'd like to talk about, but I don't know what you would want to talk about in that realm. Because I know a lot about the rock, but like I don't know how much you've heard, like
No,
rock.
we can do the 2000s rock stuff. I mean, I'm assuming a lot of that is crossover with indie rock and alternative and stuff like that.
Yeah, there is plenty of that.
Oh
So.
yeah, 2000s. Yeah, you don't have to. I'm schooled
I
up on.
originally figured we would just do 2000s for both, but now I guess we have enough with 2000s and 2010 hip hop to do for this episode. So
Yeah, and that's works for me.
just wanted to touch on that real quick. I don't know why I thought about that. Anyway, moving on to Supreme Clientele, one of my favorite albums ever. Fucking incredible album, and I think undeniable influence. Before we even get to that.
Oh yeah, and the anniversary, was recent. It was a couple months ago.
Right, February apparently.
Yeah.
The thing is, this is a perfect album, but it's an album I wouldn't change anything on, in spite of the fact that there's absolutely shit I skip on it. Like, I do not listen to 3 minutes of Woodrow the Basshead every time I listen to this. Yeah. I do, however, listen to Who Would You Fuck, because I think it's funny.
It is funny. I can't say I listen to it, because the next song is...
time, but sometimes I'll listen to Who Would You Fuck. Yeah. And I think Child's Play gets a bad rap.
Child's Play is good. Not unlike... Yeah.
Like, I think it's funny. Like, I think Ghostface is like one of the few people that could actually do that song. And the way he comes up with the little details and the way that the beat is very childlike, it sounds like a little music box.
Mm-hmm. You want Ghostface to rap over Drake's Child's Play?
I think the fact that Drake came up with a song called Child's Play and it was that fucking song makes me really goddamn mad. I think that's why you mentioned that. Fuck you. Fuck you.
I definitely mentioned that just to get something off of it. I mean,
the opening run of songs on this, I'm sorry to steamroll you. It's just like fucking, I mean, not counting the intro, although the intro is cool for what it is, obviously. Nutmeg through to, Jesus Christ, Nutmeg through to Mighty Healthy. That's like nothing but classics.
Yeah. You physically cannot skip anything. That is one of the best openings to any rap album ever, and it's not close. Like, this is, I mean, Apollo Kids is fucking incredible. Ghost Dini is fucking incredible. Nutmeg, we all, that's incredible. The posse cut, Ghost verse on that is crazy.
Redman on that is, the way he just like spazzes out, like he comes out of nowhere. Yo, weed got more seeds than ODB. Like,
Ghostface,
like the way he mixes like weird old, like completely old school break shit on like the grain, and I think it's Nutmeg that kind of has like a little old school feel to it. Definitely the grain, the grain for sure. And then he has like more abstract stuff, like the Lonely Piano on Ghost Dini. Saturday Night feels really immediate. It's just like a story song in the middle of nowhere. It's like a minute and a half long. Everything just comes at you so quickly, one after the other, and it feels like if you described it to somebody, there'd be no cohesion to it, but it feels completely and perfectly cohesive when you listen to it, just through the way that Ghost delivers everything.
Absolutely. And, Ghostface, I was going to say this earlier, Ghostface does, like, the free association rap better than anyone ever, I think. Like, where he just... I'm trying to explain this without sounding stupid. But it's like the thing where you're just kind of like talking, and it's very conversational, and he's linking that bar over there with that bar way over there, and this topic and that topic and that topic, and it all somehow comes together.
It's something that Kool Keith made more popular by doing it a lot, or at least on a lot of the albums. Mm-hmm. Earl does it sometimes. Ghostface really takes it to its extreme on this album. He has a part where he does Superfracticalisticexpialidocious from Mary Poppins, and then he does it backwards, like right afterwards. That shouldn't work. That's really stupid. When you explain it, that's really stupid, but it works the way he does it, because he does everything with such immediacy on this album. And like the way he actually raps, the way he's like in the pocket on shit is technically great. Like, he has never been in better rapping form than he has on this album. And the second half gets weird. It gets real weird.
It does get weird. I feel like people overlook that. Like, I feel like
Thing is, though, Malcolm, one of the best songs ever. Woo Banger 101, one of the best Woo posse cuts, period. It's just weirdly constructed because it's like skits and Child's Play is just a weird song to throw in there. And then it kind of trails off.
it's just like the level of detail and simultaneously like the amount of absurdity in the lyrics and just his whole demeanor and like persona on this. It's so addicting. And the thing is, like, it's a 21 track album that's just over an hour, but it doesn't feel like that.
No, not at all. It goes by so quick because it throws so much at you with so much variety. The way he describes things feels so vivid. Like, he'll tell you a story in the way that you don't know you're being told a story until halfway the way through his verse.
Do you think? So I'm gonna guess you feel this way, but you think this is the best Wu solo album?
That's hard. Because
Because Liquid Swords.
No, I don't really even Liquid Swords. I put this way above Cuban Links.
Interesting.
I have Cuban Links at an 8.
I have Cuban Links at 5, so I love Cuban Links, but I would still put this over.
Really good, but I don't know. That's another discussion. We should do a Woo episode. Yeah. But Tikal I have it at 10. Iron Man I have it at 10. Mm-hmm. Dirty Versions I have it at a 9.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the ending is so weird. Like, it ends 3 times. Like, it ends like the fucking Lord of the Rings fucking movies. It has like 3 goddamn endings. It ends with Woo Banger 101, perfect ending, Woo solo cut. Ghost comes in at the very end after you think he's done rapping, steamrolls in with a verse at the very end. Then you have that Clyde Smith skit to threaten 50 Cent, I guess. And then you have the long version of the Iron Man theme. It just feels like a weird playing out of, like, I don't know. It's kind of a flat to end the album.
It is a weird way to end the album. I mean,
otherwise would give it 10 if it ended at Woo Banger.
Oh God, absolutely. Yeah, the conclusion and the little skit thing, like that to me, that's not needed.
But on the other hand, it makes it gives it character that so much of it was dedicated to doing shit like, we're going to take 3 minutes on the studio album to threaten 50 Cent, who most people, the studio retail album, like most people who listen to this aren't going to know what the fuck we're doing. But we're going to take time out of this to just threaten this guy.
It was the How to Rob thing, right?
Yeah, it was. They were one of the people who were mentioned on How to Rob, I think he said something about Wu-Tang. So they responded.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's definitely, I guess it gives you that time and place feel with when you listen to it now, where it's like, oh, this was 2000, like, because you have that timestamp.
That is very true. There's nothing more 2000 than that.
Seriously. I think it's a coin flip with this and Liquid Swords to me. I think Liquid Swords
tighter. It depends on what you're looking for, I guess.
Yeah. The opening run on Supreme Clientele is just, I mean, and then the ending 3 songs before the skits. I mean, there's not. I agree. I think there's barely a minute wasted on this, even though it's 64 minutes. So I don't know. I'm not gonna. If someone said, "Hey, I like Supreme Clientele more," if I said I like Liquid Swords more, definitely not.
I couldn't really argue with them. For a long time, it was Liquid Swords for me. For a long time, I was, Jizza's the best in Wu-Tang, but then, I mean, it was always between Jizza and Ghost for me.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, with an argument for RZA, I mean, you can also argue RZA made the beats for a long time, and that was the most important aspect.
True.
All right, moving on, just so we don't spend forever on this, just because we do have a few to discuss. Sorry, I felt like you were going to say something. I cut you off. Were you
No,
going to say
I said you can't really go wrong with either, basically.
All right, moving on to someone we shit on. So we're going to say nice things about Eminem now on the Marshall Mathers LP. Mostly nice things, because
yeah, it's this album, I mean, took over the world. I mean, I was too young, but even when I was older and I listened to it, like when I was, I don't know, like 10 maybe, like I had known that this album was a big deal.
Right. This album was, I mean, we didn't really talk about the influence of Supreme Clientele, just real quick. Like, you don't have 90% of, like, underground New York rap right now, the way they rap, the way you do without Ghostface.
Yeah.
On that album.
Like I don't think Rock Marciano exists.
No, Rock Marciano doesn't exist, and then everybody caught. So you don't have Griselda, you don't have anybody, you don't have Aldovino, Estianac, anybody who's like riding the wave of Griselda, Makami, you don't have him. Anybody like honestly,
you don't have like your old Droog, Uncommon NASA.
Well, Droog, I think you trace back to Nas.
Well, yeah, cool. You know, and how he sounds, I guess.
Not agree with that, but still. I would say I made an argument way back in the day, and I don't know if this still holds, that you could make a direct through line from Ghostface to Cam to Wayne. And then I guess you could make the through line from Wayne to everybody who ripped Wayne off once Wayne got popular.
You could, but do you think Wayne
Because Cam on Come Home With Me, and especially Purple Haze, and then Kill the Season onward. Well, the Purple Haze Cam, most especially Diplomatic Community 2, is taking Ghost's style. Ghost style.
Right. But the thing with Wayne is, though, I feel like you could trace Wayne coming into his own before that, because Carter 1 was before.
But the way he's rapping on the early shit, and then you have the SQ shit, or the squash shit, or I don't know how the fuck you pronounce it. Yeah, that's more like based upon like the shit that he was influenced around in New Orleans on Cash Money at the time. He kind of took the Ghostface Cam style. He definitely took the Dipset style more. I'm not saying he took Ghost style. I'm saying he kind of Cam style. And I'm saying Cam kind of took Ghost style.
I mean, I could see it. I have to think about how the time periods would sync up, because I'm trying to think of like peak Wayne, like Carter 2 Wayne. Like I'm trying, or all the Dedication 2 era Wayne. Like I'm thinking about, because he would do. There is like a Supreme Clientele quality in like those projects where he's doing like the Free Association.
Or Dedication 2 and Drought 3 Wayne.
Yeah.
Those are three associative Wayne projects.
Right. He's just like somehow just rapping and rapping and rapping, and you're like, how is he still going? And then he's pulling all these different topics together, and he's doing weird references and all that.
I mean, for fuck's sake, on Drought 3, he has 2 tracks named Dipset, where he's just like rapping over Dipset shit like Dipset. Like, you know.
That's true. That's true.
We have to talk about Eminem because he was fucking relevant, and I don't really like talking about Eminem, but it was. And it's not a bad. It's a fine album. It's a good album.
Yeah. I don't
listen to anymore. Like, under any circumstance. Eminem has become incel music. Fuck it. This is going to be me shitting on Eminem more.
Eminem, I think. The good thing that this album did, and I'll put that out there.
No, you're right. This album has done good things.
The good thing this album did was, I think, the humor on this album, as juvenile as it may seem now, I think part of the character of like the Slim Shady character, I think was cool and inventive at the time, because of the fact that there wasn't anything like that going on in rap. I do think that like it allows for people to, give him a pass as well, but at the same time, like he was like, just going back, I know that this album caused like such a commotion when it came out, because people were like trying to stop their kids from listening to it and all that stuff, and it was all this and all that, and it really like put the I don't remember what I mean. Like Two Live Crew had this problem before, and other rap albums had this problem before, but like it was drumming up like this insane level of controversy that I feel like only hip hop can do in like modern popular culture.
Well, I mean, I was actually. It's funny that you should say that because I was thinking about it in that it was kind of viewed through the same lens in popular culture as like Marilyn Manson was. It was
Mm.
the same sort of hysterics,
Hmm.
but it was given probably because it was a white guy.
Right.
Because I wasn't around for when NWA broke. I mean, I was, but I wasn't. Like, I was alive, but I wasn't cognizant. So
Mhm.
I don't know how threatening it really was. I do remember a story my mom always used to tell about how she went to go see Do the Right Thing at a movie theater with my sister, and she had to leave by the end because people were getting angry. People were getting angry. This story doesn't feel real. This story feels made up.
Yeah, oh God, that's tough.
So,
It's like when people were talking about how they didn't want to go see Get Out in the movie theater because
yeah, I believe that was happening. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Other implications there that
I forget there was a video going around about Alex Jones warning about Beyonce youth gangs that were beating people up who didn't promote her album Lemonade.
hey man, if you don't listen to this very emotional, sad song about Jay-Z cheating on me, I'm beating you up.
Beyonce youth gangs.
I'm telling you, man, the shit that you said about him enjoying Norman fucking Rockwell and crying over it, that's still one of the funnier things.
Yeah, it was like a cold glass of water with big ice cubes in it in the middle of the desert. And it's just Americana.
Oh God. But
It's
yeah,
the point Hall of Fame right there.
I will say, I think there's a, I think there are songs on this album that like just only exist as like Eminem songs. They created a template for not only Eminem songs, but like songs that other rappers would like. Hobson, has templates from this album, like and other Eminem albums, like Encore, really. And like there are songs that like Joyner Lucas and Logic would try to make like 100
Yeah.
times. Like
So
they're
has done bad things in
right,
terms of it's yeah. It had a bad influence on culture, just not like the culture warriors thought it would.
right.
It had a bad influence on hip hop culture in that it influenced bad hip hop artists. Like
Yeah,
really
and I
poor, low quality, low effort hip hop artists.
exactly. But there are still like there are still songs on this that like the real Slim Shady. I feel like will always ride.
I mean, I think
Like
Remember a good song. I don't know. I'm actually looking at this track list, and
I mean,
not really seeing anything I would like ever play again. I wanted to not shit on Eminem on this, and it's just like, man, baby
just because
ballad.
we know what we know now, it's that kind of thing.
Right. I
Um,
guess if I hadn't listened to the past 15 years of Eminem, I wouldn't like. Jay Selby's gonna listen to this and be like, God damn it, I'm never coming on your fucking podcast again. Like
I mean, Stan created a word in the English
that is
language.
true. Stan created a very useful word.
Yeah.
I think the song doesn't hold up.
No, I think it's like a M Night Shyamalan movie. You see it once or twice, and you don't really need to see it again.
I see.
But it's a
I see what you did there. Like
yeah.
that's
uh, but I will say, to my analogy, it's an example of like a solid M Night Shyamalan movie.
no, yeah. Like
It's not one of the
not,
shit.
there's, and I would not say this is a bad album or anything. It's an event album. That's the thing. At the time, it was relevant, and you listen to it, and you're like, "There's stuff on this that's smarter than I expected,
Right.
and it's well constructed." And he's good at what he does, but a lot of it's tiresome, and it's an event album. It's very much of its time. It's very much of its context. It doesn't hold up. Like I have no real reason to listen to this now when there's 1,000 other things that I could listen to
Right.
or that would just actually enjoy. Like, I wouldn't listen to this unless I had to for a reason, for like a project, like a school project, to research something.
No, seriously, this is like a
like Joe or something.
and there are like I said, like The Way I Am. I used to love that song. I mean, not that I still don't, but I just remember
that song was like, I kind of enjoyed it, but it was like the line, "I'm not Mr. NSYNC." Like, you're having a fucking temper tantrum. Like, shut the fuck up. Like, I'm not what your friends think. Like, why are you being such a baby? And like, I think he's like yelling at somebody, and like somebody tried to get his autograph when he's trying to eat in the music video, and he's like flipping out at them with like his fist balled, and it's like, calm down, like, have some composure. Like, Soulja Boy handled this much better in the Ya video.
Yeah. I kind of compared this to like, I mean, like I said, it's an event album. Like there are like albums like this don't come out very often. I think there was a RYM review that compared it to like only other two albums in like the 90s could like, or albums like in the around that time that were huge, like, fucking Hybrid Theory, shit like that. Like,
right. I mean, it had that aspect to it. It also had the cultural aspect to it of something from like an era that you absolutely wouldn't remember, like a prayer or something, where it was like, oh, this is dangerous. I mean, it's not dangerous. It was engineered to be something controversial, but I don't think. I mean, I also don't really like a prayer that much, but yeah, like Hybrid Theory in terms of like the very angry, shut up, Dad, fuck you, Dad, fucking bedroom. Like, yeah, it had that aspect to it. Like, there was a lot of that going around in like the 2000s music scene. There was a lot of telling your dad to go fuck himself. And
oh, you weren't about Papa Roach?
I owned 2 Stained albums.
I will say,
yo, Kittenpuke, edit that shit out. Bleep that shit.
Yeah, I own 2 Bleep albums. Oh my god! I mean, look, didn't you say that you owned like some Puddle of Mud or something?
No, what the fuck?
All right, my bad.
I'm gonna sue your ass. No, fuck Puddle of Mud.
No, you said Puddle of Mud were influential. That's what you said. I remember that.
What I said? What?
You said like Puddle of Mud were like way more influential than like we gave them credit for. Something like that.
Something like that. The incel community. Yeah, I said Puddle of Mud were way more influential on like incels because they had like Control and She Hates Me, and those were just like blatant incel anthems in like the early 2000s before like we knew what the word there wasn't even the word incel.
Right. Well, coincidentally, there's a song, a title on that album called Basement. So it really all syncs together, honestly.
Well, moving on from Eminem to somebody much less of a cartoon character, Quasimodo, we have The Unseen, another one of my favorite albums ever. Actually, I think we haven't had one of my favorite albums ever on the 2000s list, but this album is fucking amazing, and it's not my first. I actually came to Quasimodo and Madlib from the second Quasimodo album, which was the second Madlib I'd heard after Mad Villainy. And I actually liked it better than Mad Villainy, which is rare because most people are turned off by Quasi's weird, high-pitched voice, which is much worse on the second album than this one. Honestly, I don't think it's so bad on this album. What do you, like, which Quasimodo album did you hear first, and how did you feel about the voice?
I definitely heard this one first, and I heard The Unseen first, and then I just, I think a couple years later, I listened to Further's Adventures. Like there was a long time in between which albums I listened to. And I think I only listened to The Unseen first because originally, when I had first gotten into Madlib and all that stuff, I didn't know this was Madlib until someone told me, basically, and I I had looked at the charts because I had listened to Mad Villainy and stuff before I was on RYM, but I didn't listen to this album until I was on RYM. So I guess this is well known in the underground, but it didn't have that the status of a Mad Villainy where I had heard about it. But I didn't think I thought it took a little to get used to because of this is like a really like druggy album. I feel
Yeah, it
like.
is. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, like I feel like there's no
It's
other way to say it.
incredibly
You know,
um it's very
and-
slurry and like its tempo is very off. I feel like first of all in terms of influence, I feel like there's like I don't know if cloud rap was influenced by this album, but it's a very cloudy album.
it's
And
a very it is. And
although there's like more of a boom bap tempo to this than anything, and the second album's just way more out there. The second album just throws everything at you. And I guess we're not going to do 2005 in this episode, although that's when Further Adventures came out. I could talk about that for an entire episode. That's one of my favorite albums ever. This album's, like I said, it's one of my favorite albums ever. I think that's overstating it just a little because it's a really, really good album, and I don't think there are any skips on it. It's I could see how it could be off-putting though, because it's so weird. Like, but I came to it after I'd already heard a lot weirder stuff from the same people, so it actually doesn't feel that weird to me when I listen to it.
no, I mean, and it doesn't. I think it doesn't. It feels less weird now because of what came after that. Like, and how you can hear Madlib and this album. I mean, this is basically like a really. And this is a stretch, but this is like knowledge can make an album like this, and and has sort of like you can tell knowledge listened to this and a lot of Dilla, obviously. Um, I feel like this album it's not something that I go back to. I love it. If I listen to it on a whim, I'd be like, yeah, this is great. I love it, like, etc. It's not something that I would go back to because there are a bunch of other Madlib related projects that I listen to first and appreciate his, genius level, talent and production more. But I don't know. Like, this album is like I think 5 years ago when I heard it, I didn't not didn't like, but didn't really have a lot of experience with like super druggy, like sounding hip hop at the time. And now that I've listened to a lot of that, and I mean, for God's sakes, I've been listening to a shit ton of like Lucky this week, just in general. And he's like one of my favorite. He's like one of I think he's one of those underrated rappers now. So it's just like something like that I don't think that I saw coming 5 years ago when I heard this for the first time. But I mean, to your point, it's a great album. I don't think there's much on this that's quote unquote wasted at all. Like it's just an album that you sit and kind of let marinate. I throw this on during the afternoon. I mean, and it's just like something that you let ride out. But I can't sit here and say that I reach for it because I would just listen to Mad Villainy or Pinata, or other Doom, or other Bandana, or other things that Madlib's done beats on. But yeah,
I would probably not reach for this first if I was looking for like best Mad Lib, but sometimes it is the itch I need to scratch.
mm-hmm.
I would say that in terms of drugs, that Lord Quaz is definitely a shroom album. This is a weed album. I mean, for fuck's sake, Lord Further Adventures has a track called Shroom Music on this. This seems very weed influenced. It's way more just like rambly but yet in the same vein on a lot of stuff. You have sound collage tracks like Return of the Loop Digga and Jazz Cats Part 1, which do a really amazing job of interweaving like 10 or 11 different sample sources into one big tapestry. Um, I think that he does a really great job of taking themes and coming back to them over and over on this, like recurring motifs. I think that the drums on this are crazy. There's a lot of them. The samples on this are crazy. There's the person like, and he just comes up with this character of Quasimodo, which is more compelling than most rappers' real lives.
Yeah,
This and yeah, he's only really come up with it for 2 albums and a B-side slash pretty much a B-sides compilation, and it's an incredible feat of creativity to have come up with Quasimodo in the first place. So even though Quasimodo was apparently invented during a shroom trip, this feels like a weed album, and the second one feels like the shroom album to me. I know that you have no real experience with either of these things. But he wants a druggy album, so I'm just trying to put it in context of drugs.
Sure.
Samples
Yeah.
get a lot weirder on the final third with Blitz and X puzzles. One of those got blatantly jacked for Jay-Z's intro on the prelude on Kingdom Come. I'm pretty sure it was X, and that sucks for Madlib. But at least Kanye got him paid on like Pablo eventually, so that was cool.
Right. Which was originally Freddie was supposed to rap on that. He eventually did, but there was an interview. The only interview Madlib's done, one of the only ones he's done in recent years.
He did a few, actually. He never did any interviews. Then he did like 2 or 3 with Freddie for Bandana.
Right, and one of those interviews, the interviewer was talking about like no more parties, and Freddie was like half joking that he was pissed because that was supposed to be his song first. He eventually, of course, did his version of it and put it out, but that kind of surprised me at the time.
What's funny is that it was supposed. I think originally the Watch the Throne was supposed to be like a little EP with Madlib beats on it, and Kanye and Jay verses.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was supposed to be like a throwback, like both of us rapping over like, more basic type of stuff, like 6 or 7 tracks, right. And then it became what it became because Kanye, like, he can't stick to an idea ever. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love this album so much. Not as much as other Madlib albums, but that's just more a testament to the fact that Madlib's made so much that I love. MED is boring on this. Wild Child's not really necessary, and it kind of sucks that he's like the last thing you hear on it. But other than that, there's nothing I would really change on here. Put a Curse on You is kind of like Life Is on the next one, in that it's like kind of an annoying Melvin Van Peebles skit. But even that grew on me. Like, that's just something you come to. Like, Madlib just has a way of putting these weird skits on albums that grow on you, that you find annoying the first time, that you don't skip after the 5th time. So.
Yeah, no, that's a good way of putting it. It might catch you off guard, but then you start to really, like, gel with it.
And this was just so far ahead of its time, and you don't have 90% of underground hip hop without this album, I don't think.
Yeah, no, I mean, and with anything like in general, like this album influenced a lot. So and Madlib just has a massive hand in underground hip hop across all coasts.
Like the whole lo-fi hip-hop beats channel you listen to on YouTube doesn't exist without an album. Earl That Shirt does not exist without this album.
Yeah.
So
Slums doesn't exist. Standing on the Corner doesn't exist. Like, all of those offshoots. Some of the most exciting artists right now don't exist without this album. So
it's a great transition into the next thing we're going to talk about, because it's also a natural evolution of something that came out of the 90s, which is jazz rap, conscious rap, because it's kind of taking one part of that, which was the jazzy beats, and it's isolating them and making something new out of them, and then using that to talk about something completely different. But then you have somebody completely rooted in that scene like Common, who came out with his best album, Like Water for Chocolate, which I would say is his only great classic album. Which is the next thing we're going to talk about.
Yeah, this album is like fucking like Sonic peanut butter. Like this album is absolutely wonderful. It blew me away when I first heard it. I used to have it among my favorite rap albums. It's no longer in that category, but it's still a classic. I still love it. The Sixth Sense is still just a perfect song. The Light is a perfect song. Fucking the Thelonious with Slum Village is perfect. The D'Angelo song, like everything on here is, you can just sit back and let it play, and it's beautiful. It's one of the most probably one of the more cohesive rap albums of this. So yeah.
Yeah, there's really, it's a testament to how well put together this is that in the bloated late 90s, early 2000s era, he put out a nearly 80-minute neo soul revival album, and I wouldn't really take anything off of it.
Yeah, the only thing that's unfortunate about this album is the random casual homophobia sometimes, but that's
that's common though.
that is common. You're right. That is like The Sixth Sense is one of my favorite rap songs of the 2000s and just in general. And there's that skit at the end, which is not. It's like not even. I don't know if I forget if it's homophobic, but it's just like some. It goes on for too long. And I'm just like, why'd you have to like? You didn't ruin this perfect song, but like, I didn't need the last like 30 seconds of this skit with like the random fucking like they're trying to like this person they're portraying as like a drug addict or whatever. Like, and I don't know, that one never sat well with me. But this is a super ambitious album, and the Soulquarians on this, I mean, Jesus Christ, like,
Yeah.
yeah.
The production of this it's right up there with Mama's Gun.
Yeah. Yeah,
it's honestly, I think I think the Roots tried to do this on Phrenology and they failed.
interesting. I mean, I love Phrenology, but I don't like it as much as this. But
I feel like this is the sound they were trying to go for on it, and they didn't. Well, I don't know. Like, Phrenology is more of a rock album. Phrenology is more of a rock album.
Yeah, I would have said that Things Fall Apart and this are more similar.
Well, yeah, but this followed Things Fall Apart, so maybe this is common improve. Well, I don't know if it's an improvement on Things Fall Apart because
they're pretty close. They're pretty equal to me.
Things Fall Apart feels more to me like the 90s, and this feels to me more like the 70s.
Yeah, no, even down to the cover.
Both this and Electric Circus feel to me like the 70s. More Electric Circus, like Electric Circus definitely feels like 70s, 60s revivalism. Like even like direct Woodstock revivalism, like Jimmy's a Rock Star and all that. But that's another album. But this feels like definitely like the black, like it's calling back to like a film called Pimp. Like, come on, it's like calling up to like blaxploitation tropes and stuff in its skits. And then
Well, I mean, this album and Voodoo came out in the same year, so the Soulquarians were just murdering shit. Like,
yeah, Questlove's influence cannot be understated. Like James Poyser as a session musician cannot be understated.
Yeah.
Dilla, of course, everywhere as an influence and sometimes working behind the beats. Like was Dilla was on this, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. I mean, The Light is Dilla. You know, like doing it. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Doing
that too.
I mean, the song with Jill Scott and Bilal, that's Dilla. You know, so Dilla's all over this.
That was one of the dumber things I've ever said on the show.
Sixth Sense is Premiere though.
Premiere, yeah, I know. Sixth Sense is Premiere, like obviously.
Yeah, you can tell from just the beat and
scratch
it. Yeah. Is sick. I was saying this. I don't know if I said this to on this podcast a long time ago, but if someone asked me what like a quintessential like hip hop sounding song is, like The Sixth Sense, along with like some other Premiere cuts, would be like something I would play then. Like if someone's like, "Hey, what is like hip hop?" You know, like I arrived on this planet and I've never heard of it. I feel like that is like the most. This is really dumb, my explanation, but it's like
No, I see what you're saying.
The most like in air quotes like hip hop sounding song, just like the beat and the scratches and what like people who aren't really like super into rap would even like associate with hip hop.
Oddly, the first song that came to mind when you said that for me was "Far Side Running."
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
I said this in the chat last night. Was Bill Cosby came out with a Weed Carrier rap album in 2009. A song called "Running" on it. I'm like, you stole a fucking Far Side song. Like I downloaded this album, by the way, and we might have to start a series where we just listen to terrible albums and react to them in the vein of the Logic album that no one ever got to hear. But
the Bill Cosby Weed Carrier album, Yeah. Well, I mean, not only did he. I mean, Running is one of the best.
And his weed carrier crew is called the Kazanati,
Yes. Yeah.
which might be a riff on Illuminati, like Bill Cosby's given like the
They're
the
gonna
milk of
have
Illuminati.
they're gonna have triangles with the third eye in the middle.
Woke Bill Cosby.
Bill Cosby doing posse cuts with Dr. Phil,
Dr. Oz.
Dr. Dre.
Dr. Huxtable, Dr. Dre.
Yeah. Oh, Dr. Dre probably hangs out with Dr. Phil anyway, so he would be that corny. But yeah,
really good though.
this album's amazing. Yeah. And it's definitely
his best album.
Yeah. Oh, I don't think it's close.
I do appreciate his next album more with time. Like I used to really not care for it that much, but I do appreciate it more with time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, Electric Circus was never something that I was really into. I had a like B was probably the one that if I had a second common album, I would pick that one because I still
with my first cell phone. Yeah, you got I got it at Best Buy and they gave me a gift card with it, and I was like, oh shit, this has a bunch of Kanye beats on it, and I bought it.
Yeah, well, I mean, hey, you got a cell phone and you got
like I loved the first 2 songs on it, and then I was just like, why's John Mayer on here? But
not a John Mayer stan.
Yeah. I mean, there's good songs on B. It's kind of got the worst Dilla beats I've ever heard, though.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't like the Dilla beats on B.
Oh yeah, I know. I remember in your review you talking about that, how it was like Dilla most like
City is an incredibly hard song. The first song is one of Kanye's absolute best beats ever.
Of course.
Ever. So
one of the best beats in the history of the genre.
For sure. Like.
Well, I guess the good thing about like Water for Chocolate, just circling back, is that it does lead into our next 2 albums pretty well on the 2000s list, because they sound
directly.
Yeah, they have similar sound.
And Train of Thought is one that I don't like as much as you might think I would.
Because I still love this album. But I can't say I listen to all of it that much anymore, but there's just so much music out there, of course. But this album,
I don't like the Talib Kweli raps on this album. I like the way he raps on The Blast. He doesn't sound nearly the Blast to this album.
The Blast is wonderful.
The Blast is one of the best rap songs ever.
The way that beat comes in, like that beat made me want to like seek out other hip hop with like that watery, like jazzy sound.
Was the time this came out, this and The Light were on MTV2 all the time. You don't remember there used to be an MTV2 and it used to play like back start playing.
I used to watch MTV2 when I was like 9 or when I was like 8 or 9. I remember.
But yeah, like this is back when MTV started experimenting with, hey, we're not really going to play music anymore. So go to this other channel that was like, MTV was like channel 30 or 31. MTV2 was like channel like 69 or channel 70 or something. And then, so they would always play like blocks of crappy rap, like rock songs. Like you'd hear your Limp Bizkit, your Disturbed, your whatever. And then they'd play like The Blast and The Light. And then it'd be like a blast of light. It would, like, oh shit, there's music out there that's not this horrible, terrible shit that's masquerading as rock music. So that was very revelatory for me. But the actual album, like, I do not like the way Talib Kweli raps on this album. He's trying to cram way too much into every single 16. Like, he just raps so, like, he's trying to rap like AZ on Life's a Bitch on every single song.
That's funny that you said that. That's isn't that just like a lot of how Kweli raps in general, though?
I feel like slowed down with time, actually. I mean, he does it sometimes on the first Black Star album, but not all the time. He does it all the time here.
Yeah.
I feel like he kind of moderated it with his, like, because he definitely tried to cross over, and you can't rap like this when you're making crossover songs.
I mean, I feel like this is an
And
album.
he doesn't rap like that on the Blast.
No, yeah. I think to your point though, with any quality album, at least in my opinion, I feel like with quality albums, because of his rapping and like he doesn't have like the biggest presence on the mic per se. It requires like a lot of like you to participate in it, and you have to like want to pick up on the shit that he's saying because the beats are gonna be nice, but you're not like there's not a lot of like immediacy to quality on this.
Damn, Josie gave this 5 stars. Oh, 2007 though, but still. Damn, Nodima gave this 5 stars.
Yeah.
I'm missing something. Fuck. I don't know. Man, this never hit me. Like I don't know. Like he's not rapping badly, but it's just he's just pushing so much into everything, and the beats are relaxed, and he's not. And it's somebody that I used to fuck with on message boards used to call shit like this term paper rap. Like,
Yeah, that's a pretty brutal analysis. I don't know.
and like, songs
I
like this, like Africa Dream and Expansion Outro, like Africa Dream's about like um fucking like the black experience, and Expansion Outros about the experience of the black woman and stuff. And it's like they're term papers. Like he's trying to teach you something, and you felt like you're being taught. And like I get the good intentions and everything, but it's like you have to. I have this problem with Lupe sometimes, a lot of the time, but
Mhm.
he got better about it in recent times. He's never perfect about it, but you got to like leaven the message somehow. And I felt like the way Quali was rapping on this album, he wasn't leavening the message. He's just spewing words at you. I don't know. Like I'm coming off more negative again. Like this is like the third, fourth time I'm coming off more negative about an album. Like I don't hate these albums. I like this album. I mean, I don't love this album, obviously,
Mhm.
but it's got one perfect song on it, and otherwise, I feel like the way he raps on it is kind of browbeating me.
Right. I mean, hey, that's fair. I can't say I've listened to this in probably about 2 years. I would say I was really into it. Probably about like 4 years ago. It was definitely something that I like reached for a lot more. But now, if I want something jazzy, I'll listen to a myriad of other things. But that goes for a lot of albums. Like I don't really have that many. I don't have many bad things to say about it. Outside of the like, hey, I don't listen to it that much. But it's still great. And when I do throw it on, I'm still very much into it. So yeah.
I like the second one better, and I'm probably the only one that would say that. And we get to the second one in the 2010 list, if we ever get to the list, which we have like an hour 15 minutes. So.
I mean, Fantastic Volume 2, I feel like is
There's one that I'll have nothing to say about because I haven't heard it in forever, but I really like this album's great. This album fucking rules.
oh this yeah, it rules. When like the production on this is crazy, and I agree with you. I haven't heard it in probably I would say like 2 or 3 years, I would say at least. But I mean, this is like the song with D'Angelo is incredible. The Busta song is great. Like those are the standouts on here are cuts that I'm still gonna
All in
remember.
Love is a perfect song.
Yeah,
Perfect.
beautiful song. Like this album is just a beautiful album, and I don't even know if it's like I don't know even know if this album is about the raps. Like it's just about
Well,
losing
Dilla,
yourself.
this is Dilla in his element. Just the way he flips things. Just the piano on Fall in Love is perfect.
Yeah, and just like
The way he, I don't know. There was a period in time where Dilla was the best producer in the world, and this is square in that period.
absolutely, 100%. His work this entire year is an example of that. Honestly.
Was Welcome to Detroit this year too, as well?
Oh, let me see. I want to say it was after this. It was the year after. but still around that time period.
But they were probably all from like roughly the same sessions.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, Dilla.
Unfortunately, I don't have too much to say about this one, but it's really fucking good. If you haven't heard it, you should. If you're a Dilla fan, you haven't heard it, like, I don't know what to tell you. It's top 5 Dilla.
Yeah, it's definitely top 5. It's like
really they're not bad raps by any means, but they're just like kind of, I guess it's kind of comparable to the J-Lib album. Like, I guess if you're like looking to it for some sort of conscious rap thing, you're not really gonna get that. Although I guess you can get it more than you would have the J-Lib thing, but still, like, they're technically fine, and like the features are really good. Like, one of the better later period Busta features. D'Angelo's amazing. Tip's really good. Common's really good. So
yeah, there's not to me there's not much to complain about with this album because it's everyone working at the peak of their powers, but the raps at the same time are not like the focal point. Like any album with Dilla's name on, honestly. I don't even think like Common's raps are the focal point of like Water for Chocolate. It's just
not really. Yes, and like the thing about Common is that he always sees himself as a slam poet. So they are and they aren't. Like, I think that album achieves the perfect balance between his raps and the instrumentals.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
kind of veers wildly between, and then otherwise his albums kind of don't know what to do with them. Like, I feel like B was an early attempt at what Kanye would do better on the Wyoming projects, where it's like, I'm taking the ship, I'm going to give you the beats, you're going to give me the vocals. And it was like a rough sketch for that, and it was rough in that they also had the Dilla stuff in there because obviously he had Dilla instrumentals. I mean, I think we could have done without them, but still.
I mean, I think that
in terms of like Kanye never really did a project like that before Wyoming, aside from B, where it was just like entirely him and one rapper.
Mm-hmm. And I think that this album, Volume 2, Fantastic Volume 2, kind of like, once again, I don't think there's a Slums, that these days without this album. I don't think there's like a Standing on the Corner, all that stuff. Like there's obviously Dilla. We know his influence is huge. We know, we know what he's about, and so I think the music really speaks for itself.
Yeah, I agree.
And I feel like for the other 2000s albums, because we covered the most essential ones, we could just like rapid fire some of them.
Oh no, I was exactly thinking the same thing. I was just kind of just flipping through them, saying we could just go through and have like lightning round on anything else we felt like wanted to comment on. Let's Get Free. Do I even remember? Like, is this the one I remember anything off of? No, never mind. Maybe I haven't heard that.
Let's Get Free is great. I haven't heard it in forever, but I remember it being great. There are albums that are kind of like
the W. Let's talk about the W real quick.
I was gonna say an album that's like above it, like of its time. The W is definitely like that.
I Can't Go to Sleep is one of the best Wu-Tang songs, period.
Yeah.
On that, there is, and Gravel Pit's really good. Gravel Pit was a really cool single.
This album, when it came out, was it like, did people dog it?
I think so. Thing it was, when it came out, I was not super into hip hop yet. I was 14. I was still very limited in my hip hop exposure.
Mm-hmm.
I can say when I started listening to hip hop, it was thought of less than other Wu-Tang albums, for sure. Right. I think it kind of is. And
I mean, the Nas song is
it feels like it's. Sorry to talk over you entirely. What you just said, it's kind of a patchwork, I guess. In the way a lot of Wu albums aren't. Like, if you even look at Iron Flag feels like more of a cohesive vision. 8 Diagrams, people might hate it. It's definitely a cohesive vision.
Mm-hmm.
This just feels like it's thrown together from whoever was around and answered RZA's emails, because there weren't texts then.
Yeah. No, you're 100% right. This is like a...
good at all. I remember Busta's feature not being very good at all, but I really don't like most Busta features. I like Careful. I like
the
A Little Off. It just felt like kind of underwhelming, I guess, if you think about the wait between Wu-Tang Forever and this. And it was definitely a sign they were overextended.
Yeah, I feel like it was the cracks in the armor starting to show.
That said, though, I Can't Go to Sleep is amazing. It's
I mean,
most
Isaac.
of RZA at their peaks, like the way it shows what they could still do. It shows that they were both still vital. Ghost would prove he was still vital for the next half decade. RZA, not really so much, but I mean, Iron Flag. I think Iron Flag is better. I mean, you can't say this has any influence. There's no real point in talking about the influence on this. It's Wu-Tang at this point. They'd had their influence. This was just something else they'd put out.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to look at. I really like the Mike Ladd album, but I don't know if that's really. I mean, it is influential on Milo, but that's a lot to talk about. We have more to talk about, so I'm just going to pass back that. I like the Cool Keith, but again, that's Cool Keith. That's not really influential on anybody.
I'm looking through. I mean, an album that I absolutely love from 2000 that I think definitely deserves a shout out because it is I don't know if it's the overall Crunk album, but it's definitely I think it's my pick for the best Crunk record, and that's When the Smoke Clears by 3-6 Mafia, and that obviously it's Sipping on the Syrup on it, like we know that was a massive song, but the whole record to me is bulletproof. Like and it's funny, I've listened to this a lot in general. Like it's just a record that I play a lot because it's so fucking fun. Like it's like 70 minutes and it's just nonstop like banging tracks, super fun, great guest features. Like the Goody Mob track is great. Take a Bump is one of like the most underrated 3-6 songs, and yes, it's just about cocaine.
Oh, I was confused. I assumed.
Yeah. Another an influential album, if only for Who Run It, which has been not only was like a big song in 2018, like revitalized with all the remixes.
We need to talk about Rule 336, which I'm sure was a very influential album in 2000 because it had Put It On Me, which was a song that I heard more than any other song in 2000. It has future guest Dima, gave it 1 star. Future guest Diction gave it 1 star. Not very highly album. This album, yeah, Love Me, Hate Me, 4 minutes 44 seconds long, influential on Jay-Z.
But yeah, I mean, if you've heard only
the Million featured on track 3.
Jesus Christ.
You have to look at the track art for this, dude. You have to look at the track art for this. It has the exact same fucking font as Stained and Stabbing Westward.
2000, right? Very 2000.
Yeah, 2000.
Yeah. But definitely shout out that 3-6 record because it's an amazing album. Love that album.
Ja Rule shout out. Okay, fine.
Ja Rule shout out to Big Mo, rest in peace. But City of Syrup, great album. Big Chopped and Screwed album.
I don't know, that was a really relevant album, and yeah.
Obviously there are remixes of that. Slim K doesn't exist without that. Probably a whole lot of stuff.
Not like one of the few that be released retail, actually.
Yeah, that was the retail. That was I think that's his only album. He might have 2 albums. I'm not sure. Also a really good Big Timers record came out that year, which maybe was the last time Birdman was
okay,
good.
Selby, we offended you earlier when we made fun of Eminem, but we shouted out Big Timers, so we were getting you back as a listener.
I think that great Big Timers album was the last time Birdman was useful. I'm not sure. Yeah, Big Mo has a couple albums. Yeah, that Big Timers album was great, and also great cover. I don't know what like, these Cash Money covers around this time were great.
I'm looking on the Emil album. All Money Is Legal. She has a lion. She has a lion on her cover, predicting Tiger King. So Emil was influential in
Oh
2000.
my God! Look at this cover art. This
So
album
there's
had
no Tiger without Emil. We have that. Uh,
no Tiger King without me. Didn't the Dynasty come out this year? The Jay
oh
Z.
yeah, that was way up there. We
Yeah.
skipped past that for more important things like Emil and influencing Tiger King. Uh,
Yeah.
so yeah, let's
Um.
move on. Could move on to 2010, or we can keep going because there's some really bad mixtape arts in here.
I just want to say also 2000, which I did not know this until today. Today I learned that the first Boosie album was in 2000 when he was like 17. So today
There
I
was
learned.
a rapper who decided to call himself Richie Rich.
Yes. Yeah.
That's a choice. That's a choice.
That is definitely a choice.